Oh, week 4. We're already a month into the program. Whew, it's been a long month already. So let's create a new scene here, not open a scene. New scene. And this time we're going to do the wave principle. Now, the wave principle is, I wouldn't say it's the easiest assignment, but it is definitely one that doesn't require nearly as much creativity, because it's really more about understanding than about trying to create something. So the wave principle is really understanding how to get overlap to work and how to make it look appealing. So to prep for this assignment, I'm just going to create a box here, basically hide the squirrel in the box, and let's frame this up here nice and close. And essentially what we're trying to do here is what we want to get this tail to overlap and just kind of do this, like a blade of grass in the wind. And how do we animate that? So the basic principle here, and let me actually set my frame range as well. This, I believe the assignment is 48 frames. Okay. So the basic principle is learning how to animate overlap. So let's actually, I'm going to add a new background layer here so we can just draw the platform. Yep. Straight line, straight line. There, straight line. Straight line. Hold down shift, straight line. So essentially it's, imagine if we were to do this in 2D, I'll just do this super quick here. It's how do we take this object and create a wave through it? So for example, you're going to get something like this, comes through, pulls off right through there, eases in right through here as this comes through, and then the base is going to, did I draw it sliding sideways? I think I did. I did. Can you tell I don't draw too often? Literally can't keep this object staying in one place. Okay. So then we get the base starting to reverse here. Let's do a big reversal here. So this is a form of the wave principle here. Now, as it comes through, we get, let's just drag that right through there. So if we look at this, I'm not going to do the whole thing. And there we go. We get that wave if I could draw straight. So something like that. Now, the wave principle. It is a simple, quote unquote, principle that can be very tricky to visualize at times. And I know I had a very hard time understanding it at first. But there is something that helped me quite a bit with understanding the wave principle. And that is, let me bring you animation layer here. I'll show it in 2D and then we're going to jump into 3D here. Is as you're trying to understand the wave, don't try to just wing it and just move shapes around. It can be very tricky. Instead, what you want to do is imagine, I create another layer here. Imagine spheres moving through the object. So, for example, I'm going to just create a sphere here. And as this goes up, can I just copy and paste? Oh, I can't copy paste. Boo. So essentially, this is going to move up. I think I would paste that frame there. I don't use Clip Studio to animate, unfortunately. Copy cell, no copy cell. Cameron would know how to do this. Yeah, he actually animates really well in Clip Studio. So I'm just going to do it manually. So we're going to just move this up through here. Go up. 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 Okay. So we've got this sphere going through the object, essentially, like that. Okay, now how does this help us? Well, as the object goes through, it's going to push this line across. Imagine it's like a ball rolling under a blanket. As it goes through, that blanket is going to want to push around this, and let's actually tone down the opacity of that. So it's going to push around the object and then try to stay on the line that it was on. Now as it comes through here, it's coming through, pushing across. Something like that. And then we get that. Now, this isn't going to be a wave yet. But you see how it kind of pushes through there, and we get that line moving through the object. This shape moving through the line like that. This is a very important idea and principle in animation, which is that we can have a line with weight in it. It feels like instead of just the whole shape kind of moving all at the same time, there's this kind of wave being pushed through the object like that. Now, in order to get the actual wave principle with this, what we would need to do, and let's see if I can do this here, is we just take the sphere and move it down and over like so. So as it comes through, we've got two spheres going through like that. So again, we're trying to think of that weight being pushed through the line. And as we go through here, now we can draw that line getting pushed through here and then kind of pushed across here. And if you had more just keeping going up, you'd have that continual wave principle in there. So if we take this now, it's not the best example because I should have added more, but I want to get to the CG principle here. You get that wave going through the object, but it's just thinking of like these spheres moving through, or essentially pressure going through the object versus just random shapes that are moving for no particular purpose. Now, where this comes in really handy is, for example, if you have a character. If you have a character that's kind of bent over here, a lot of people, when I see them animate, what they're going to do is just have this kind of global stretch or like straightening of the character, where the whole line just kind of straightens up, boring, even, like that. See how it just kind of goes straight across? Not that interesting. We can make it interesting by thinking of that pressure and how it moves through the body. Now, all of this just to explain what we're going for in the assignment here. So as the character is going to lift their body here, what I would try to do is think of, where's that weight coming from? Is it going to be from the chest? Is it going to be from the lower back? So let's try to push that lower back first. So the lower back starts to raise up here. This is going into lead and follow, what we were talking about at the beginning of the stream. Then it's going to start to kind of curl up here before straightening out there. And we get a little bit of a curve here. And, hey, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Aaron. I really appreciate that. Aw, thank you so much. And thank you for the follow as well. Welcome to the stream. So now if we look at this here, and I kind of lost it here at the end. I would need to push that a little bit more. Drag this a little bit more. Let's not snap it right there. So now if you look at this raise, see how that just feels a little bit more dynamic? It's not a huge thing. I didn't try to exaggerate this a ton. But instead of just this even robotic raise, we've got that kind of pressure starting from the lower back and pushing its way through. Essentially, if you think of a sphere, it's like it's rolling through the object right through there. So if we kind of look at this here, it's pushing the object up and pushing that weight through. So that is the idea behind this. Now, to animate this, there's a lot of different ways we could do it. We could do pose to pose. We could do straight ahead. We can do all sorts of things. In my case, what I'm going to do is let's try it this way. We'll see if it works. I'm not a fan of using this workflow typically in my shots, but this is kind of the best time to show it. So I'm going to try to see if it'll work here. So what I'm going to do is I'm essentially just going to animate one joint, get the nice back and forth motion in the wave, and then I'm going to copy that over onto the other curves and offset them to create the sense of overlap. So the reason I want to do this here is I see this method used on a lot of pendulum and tail assignments that students use, or the students do. And the problem with that is that while it's very good for still motions and for certain things, for the pendulum and the tail, it's not going to work really well. It can lead to a lot of issues. And if you don't know how to solve those issues with other workflows, you're kind of out of luck. So I want to show what it is here. So it's essentially copying and offsetting. So what I'm going to do here is first I'm just going to get the back and forth motion right through here. So let's simplify this. Let's just make sure these two values are at 30. Yeah, I can always tone it down. And this is going to be negative 30 right there. So now we have back and forth right there. Okay, cool. And if I just play through this, there we go. We get a nice motion through here. Now, this is where we have that issue of halves. It actually comes up very well here. So we have that ease out, then ease in. And if we were to break this down, our animation would look very boring. If I just broke this down in halves here, it's not going to be quite exactly halves like we had in the 2D thing, but it's going to be pretty close. So what I would want to do here, just to make it more dynamic, is add a key in the middle. I'm going to turn it, But also, notice here how on the middle frame, right here on frame 13, this is halfway between frame 1 and frame 25, right there. That tail is perfectly straight. Perfect. I don't want that because that is exactly halfway between these two poses. It's just boring. And honestly, perfectly vertical poses are also boring. It's like a double whammy of boring. I don't want that. So I'm just going to take this and I'm going to favor it either one way or the other. And it really just depends on if I want that weight to kind of feel like it takes some time and then sweeps through, or it goes fast and then eases in. In this case, to make it feel a little heavier, I'm going to favor the previous key just a little bit like that. And now when we go through our animation, notice how there's no straight frame. It's straight-ish, but it's not perfectly straight. And that's very important in making something nice and appealing. So let's do the same thing here. This time I'm going to favor this side and then just push the rotations there. There we go. So now just by doing that, we have a slightly more interesting wave pattern right there. Cool. Okay. So there's our overlap right through there of our first joint. Now I'm going to copy this, apply it to our second joint right here. So I'm going to select that and then take our, which curve was it? I think it was the rotate X. Double check that. Yeah. So rotate X, and I'm going to paste it. Edit, paste. Okay. So already we get this. Now the problem with this is that the two curves are perfectly in sync. It's just doing this and this together. We need that offset where essentially one part leads, the bass needs to lead, and then the rest follows afterwards. So to get that working, we need to offset this curve. So I'm going to offset it, let's say 2 frames for now. And now you can see, let's actually offset it a few more. Let's say like that. So now you can see how we start to get that overlapping action. As that curve here starts to move, this is still dragging behind. And then like right here, it's the bass stops and then the upper half keeps going. There's a problem though. As we offset it, we've got no animation here. Like if I offset it all the way over here, there's no animation there. How do we get that to work? All you need to do is take your curve here, go to curves, post infinity, cycle with offset, curves, pre-infinity, cycle with offset, and then go to view, show infinity. And now you've got your curve that keeps going through. And now we've got that nice overlap right through there. Definitely offset way too much there. Okay. So we've got that. Now let's just copy that and paste it to the next curve. So we're going to get everything copied and then we're going to play with the offsets. Edit. Paste. Oops, don't need the options. Paste right through there. And then curves, post infinity, cycle, pre-infinity, cycle. Okay. And how much did I offset it here? There we go. I think, yeah. So I did 3 frames, I think, or 4. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So now we've got that. Let's do one more right at the end here. 1 more. So now we just need the tip of the tail. Let's paste that again. Right there. And then make sure we've got our infinity curves. There we go. Now we've got offset. Done. That's pretty much it. Now, if I wanted to go through here and really refine this to be like perfect, I could do that. But honestly, this is more about understanding what we're looking at and how to refine and understand the motion. I'm going to just try to reduce the offset here, see how that feels. It's a little stiffer. Let's actually try to increase the offset now. Now it feels looser. So you can see how by offsetting that a little bit more, we create that more looseness. And what's happening is we're pushing the lead and follow. The base of the tail is leading a lot more compared to all the other bits. And we're not just getting everything moving together. So there we go. That's pretty much the assignment. Now, there's a lot of different ways you could approach this. You could do this in a pose-to-pose method. You could do it in a straight-ahead method. This would be the layered method of animation. But once again, I am not a huge fan of animating tails and things in this method unless it's something simple like this. And the big reason is, again, because it's not taking into account the character underneath the object. It's literally just basic offset, the most basic motion that you can get. So a lot of times what you're going to get is something that, for lack of a better term, it kind of feels lifeless. So I would much rather build in the poses myself, which is what we're going to do with pendulum assignment. And I'm going to show you the importance of that and why we can get just a little bit more of a dynamic motion through there. So honestly, this is done. Nice and quick and easy. Assignment 4. Phew, that was a tricky one. But hopefully it made sense. And like, I went through this quickly, but as you're doing this yourself, really take time, and I would explore the different methods of animating this. I'm going to be exploring the different methods along the way in the other assignments. But definitely this would be a good one to just really take your time and dig into. So with that, does anyone have any questions as we take our weekend break? I'm going to grab some water. We're going to just watch some good movies, have a pizza. It's been a month at the school now. It's been a long month, but we're getting there. We're starting to get into real animation. And soon we're going to be getting into an actual character. But we're not quite there yet.